You're listening to The Night Shift with Michael Darcy on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Welcome into The Night Shift on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm your host, Michael Darcy. Tonight, Kyle Collier is running the operation, producing the thing. We've got a jam-packed show for you. For the next 2 hours, we've got you covered on all things Kansas City sports. We are going to dive into the NFL positional rankings. We're a couple weeks away from Chiefs training camp, and so this is the point in the offseason where we get the rankings. We get the lists of where the Chiefs have talent and where the Chiefs don't have talent according to the analysts, the execs, the coaches in the NFL, and so we've got a lot to get into there. We'll also play Hypothetically Speaking in the second hour, but a lot to get to in this show. I first want to start off with the quarterback ranking because a couple days ago, Jeremy Fowler listed his quarterback rankings, and this should come as no surprise in the year 2026 that Patrick Mahomes yet again was disrespected, but Patrick Mahomes is not the number one quarterback in the NFL. That guy is Josh Allen. And it's not really a surprise that Mahomes was not listed ahead of Josh Allen because that is what it's been over the past couple seasons. But I think that the main story behind Patrick Mahomes being listed as the second best quarterback in the NFL is looking at the rankings. His highest ranking was the number one quarterback, which means that the executives, the coaches, there was one that believed that he was the best quarterback in football, and his lowest ranking was 9. Someone out there ranked Patrick Mahomes as the 9th best quarterback in the NFL, which I don't know what game that NFL coach or executive is watching. It might not be American football. Maybe he's watching the World Cup. Maybe he's watching what Argentina just did to England and is a little bit confused with the sport. There is no way whatsoever that Patrick Mahomes would be the 9th best at anything. He's probably better at basketball and baseball than the 9th best. Just showing how gifted he is just athletic-wise. But I don't understand how the takeaway could be from anybody that he's the 9th best quarterback in the NFL, because you would have to talk about some pretty mediocre to bad quarterbacks that would be listed as better than him. Now, looking at the other guys in the top 10, Matthew Stafford ranked number 3. I think that's fair. He's been very, very good. The Rams are going to be a team that is competing for a Super Bowl this year. Joe Burrow is 4. Joe Burrow's been injured. He's been inconsistent. He's somebody that wins Comeback Player of the Year seemingly every other year because he's always injured. But he's 4. Lamar Jackson, 5. Looking down at the list, Dak Prescott, 6. Justin Herbert, 7. Drake May, 8. Jared Goff, 9. Caleb Williams, 10. I'm not sure if Drake May is the 8th best quarterback in the NFL. I think we're really looking at 2025 and taking a lot of stock into one season instead of a greater sample size of what some of these players have been either over the past couple seasons or just what they have been for the entirety of their career. And so I disagree with Patrick Mahomes being ranked the second best quarterback, but does that surprise anybody? Again, there has always been a level of disrespect when it comes to talking about Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen, for whatever reason, always gets the nod, even though looking at their stats side by side, they're very similar players. Now, 2025 was not a great year for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense, but there's nuance to this conversation. It's not as simple as, well, Patrick Mahomes just wasn't as good, therefore it was his fault. Now, he could have played better, but he was also the Chiefs' leading rusher for the first chunk of the season, and his pass catchers, one of them was suspended to begin the year. The other one got banged up in Brazil and was never the same player. Travis Kelce, his number one tight end option, he had a good season, but he wasn't the player that he was 5 years ago. So there was a lot of stuff that happened that maybe led to a dip in production, and he also got hurt before the season ended. But it is also fair to say that before Patrick Mahomes did get hurt and his season was over, he was not the same player. Now, the hope is with the offensive turnover, with bringing in Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator, with bringing in Chad O'Shea as the wide receivers coach, they are going to have more offensive upside because they also added Kenneth Walker in free agency. They drafted Cyrus Allen. They made small pieces to get better. They obviously made a splash by getting the best running back on the market, but they essentially told fans this offseason that the main reason why the Chiefs offense struggled was because of the coaching staff. They changed the coaching staff in a big way this offseason. DeMarco Murray as the running backs coach was a guy that I completely forgot to mention. So expect to see the Chiefs offense improve in 2026. And if Patrick Mahomes is healthy and plays week 1, I do expect him to have a bounce back season where he might stun a lot of people with how well he plays. And it's funny how, again, we've hit that point in the offseason where everybody has to try to get clicks. Everybody's trying to publish their 250-word article or their piece saying that this is going to be the case, this is our rankings, this is how things are going to end up. Patrick Mahomes did an interview with Yahoo Sports, and they asked him about, if he's going to play week 1 against Denver, and he said, that's my goal, as if he's going to come out and say, yeah, I don't think I'm going to play week 1. When the expectation locally has been, Patrick Mahomes is, barring anything crazy, likely going to be the day 1 starter. And maybe that's because we have an unrealistic view on the human body and just how long it takes normal athletes to recover. But is there anybody out there that is hesitant that Patrick Mahomes isn't going to start week 1? And if he doesn't start to begin the season, this is going to be a guy that comes back as quickly as possible and I think plays either at or right after the Chiefs' bye week, which is in week 5. The Chiefs got a very early bye week this year, which could have been the NFL's way of saying if he's not fully healthy, this gives him a chance to get some rest very early on in the season, where the Chiefs have had later bye weeks at different points in the past. But I do think that Patrick Mahomes is likely going to play week 1. But even if he doesn't play week 1 because they don't feel like he's 100% able to go out there and play, now not being 100% body-wise, but they're not just going to put a guy out there because he wants to be out there. They got to make sure that they treat this situation with the proper amount of cautiousness, because if they don't, you're gambling with the franchise, and that would just be a very poor decision. But I like Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields offers an upside at the backup quarterback position that they haven't had in quite some time. And for the first time in years, I'm excited to watch the preseason because we're going to find out what Justin Fields looks like in a Chiefs uniform. We're going to find out maybe a little bit of what Emmett Johnson. I don't know how much Kenneth Walker is going to play in the preseason, but the Chiefs have so many question marks on the team overall that it's going to be fun to watch the running back room. It's going to be fun to watch the wide receivers, whether it's Cyrus Allen or Jalen Royals in the preseason. Somebody's going to have to step up because they are relying on one of those rookies or second-year players taking a massive step forward. And that's what training camp is going to be fun to watch because we'll also see who's trending to be, a starter or getting more playing time. But getting back into the NFL positional ranks, some other ones to talk about. Kenneth Walker, who we just mentioned, ranked number 9. So he's a top 10 running back in the NFL according to coaches and executives. And for what the Chiefs are paying him, that is fantastic because you don't want to give $14 million a year to a guy that's not a top 10 player at his position, but he's ranked 9. And I actually think it's fair to say that the season that he just had probably helped him secure the 9th overall spot. Now, just looking at the top 10 running backs in the NFL, they had Bijan Robinson of the Atlanta Falcons as the number 1 guy, Jahmyr Gibbs of the Detroit Lions at number 2, Saquon Barkley of the Eagles at 3, Christian McCaffrey at 4. Christian McCaffrey is really interesting because he's 30 years old and has dealt with some injuries. Jonathan Taylor at 5, Derrick Henry at 6, James Cook at 7, and Devon Achane at 8, and then Kenneth Walker at 9. I actually think there's a possibility if Kenneth Walker comes out in 2026 with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and puts up career numbers, there's a very valid argument that he's going to be better than Devon Achane, better than James Cook, better than Derrick Henry, because Derrick Henry's 32 years old. I actually think that if Kenneth Walker plays to the best of his abilities, he could be a fringe top 5 guy. Now, obviously, he's got to stay healthy and go out there and prove it, but the Chiefs have a potential top 5 running back, which is something that they have not had in many years. They've been running it back with Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, who were fine players, but just didn't offer the upside at the position group. Chris Jones ranked number 4 in the NFL in defensive tackles, which I think is fair after he had a down season. And I actually think Chris Jones, given his contract, is somebody that should be pretty lucky that he was the 4th-ranked player at his position. Just looking at the top 5, Leonard Williams of the Seattle Seahawks is number 1. Jeffrey Simmons of the Tennessee Titans is 2. Jalen Carter of the Eagles is 3. Chris Jones 4. And Derek Brown of the Panthers is 5. If Chris Jones goes out and has an unbelievable season, last year he was ranked 2. He could get back to that spot depending on how Jalen Carter and Jeffrey Simmons play, but he didn't have that many sacks last year. And when you've got a top 5 cap hit in the entire NFL, you've got to go out there and prove it and go get sacks. And he just didn't do that a lot last year. And in reality, that's probably why the defensive line struggled as much as they did. But Travis Kelce was ranked number 10 at tight end, which I actually disagree with because, Kyle, I don't know if you saw how the NFL ranked their tight ends or how ESPN ranked their tight ends this year. I understand Travis Kelce is no longer 28 years old and he is not what he once was. I don't disagree with the top 2. I think Brock Bowers at number 1 is very fair. Trey McBride at number 2, more than fair. You can make a compelling argument that Trey McBride is the best tight end in football.
You could, but I won't.
I won't either.
Bowers.
I think it's Bowers. Do you know by chance who the number 3 tight end is?
Kittle?
It is George Kittle.
Wow.
George Kittle is the 3rd best tight end in the NFL according to these ESPN rankings. Again, I don't know what NFL games they're watching, but George Kittle is falling off a cliff. This is a guy that is
last year's ranking number 2.
Yeah, not the case. George Kittle is
somebody ranked him 1 and then somebody ranked him 8th. So I mean, nobody knows where to put George Kittle because frankly, nobody knows when George Kittle is going to be available to play. So I vehemently whatever that how
vehemently?
Yeah, something like that.
He's very close to being 8 or 9.
I strongly disagree with him.
I strongly disagree. Yeah, I don't understand what the rankings we're seeing. I mean, looking at his 2020
he's working his way back from a late
stats.
Season Achilles tear.
In 2024, he had 1,100 yards. Last year, he had 600 yards. Travis Kelce had a better season statistically, but George Kittle also only did play in 11 games. Looking at his past couple seasons, he's played in 16 games, 15 games, and 11 games. I mean, in 2020, he played 8 games. So he's been banged up a lot over his career. I just don't think that's a top 3 guy. Now, I will listen to Sam Laporta being ranked above Travis Kelce. He was 4. I'll listen to Tyler Warren. He was fantastic last year with the Colts. I'll listen to Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft was a very good tight end before he blew out his knee. But is it fair to say that Kelce's better than Colston Loveland at this point in time, at least for now?
I would say so, because Colston Loveland in Chicago really didn't. He had a couple games where he kind of exploded. I think just only one of those, one game last week. Last year he didn't really have much of a role in Ben Johnson's first-year offense in Chicago, and he was, the number 11 overall pick in the 25 draft?
I believe so, yeah. I mean, he was definitely highly touted.
So I'm not willing to put Loveland that high yet. 7, honestly, feels too high. I guess we're really just, and these lists are voted on by NFL execs and coaches, people around the league. Highest ranking 3? I don't understand that. Lowest ranking unranked, I get that. He really didn't have much of a role. I'm not sure what the season statistics were for Loveland last year.
I think this just speaks more.
Is it just future projection?
I think it speaks more to the position and less about Colston Loveland. Because there's some young tight ends that are up and coming, but
yeah,
there are better, there's more guys that are knocking on the door for being a top 10 receiver than there are for being a top 10 tight end. Like, there is a discrepancy for having a number 1 tight end versus a number 2 tight end. There's plenty of teams that don't have a number 1 tight end. Everybody's got a number 1 wide receiver, whether he's a, top 15, top 20 wide receiver. Everybody's got somebody that is a de facto number 1. Not every team has a de facto number 1 tight end.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And I'm looking at the honorable mentions because my thought process is I was going to go and replace Colston Loveland with one of those guys. But the honorable mentions, yeah, there's not a ton of studs. Dallas Goedert is a possibility. TJ Hawkinson, if you think he can bounce back from a couple of injury-ridden years. I think I would certainly have Kelsey over Loveland. Other than that, the top 6 I kind of agree with. I think I'd have Tyler Warren higher than Kittle and Sam Laporta. I think Tyler Warren had I think he may have been the receiving yards leader of the position last year as just as a rookie. So if we're talking future projections, Tyler Warren's got to move up this list. Highest ranking was 3, lowest ranking was 10. So I don't know. I mean, is Kelsey at 10? Is that something you disagree with?
1,000%, because I'm looking at who is at 7, 8, and 9. 8 is Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts
just got paid.
That doesn't necessarily mean that it was a great contract. I mean, yeah. Kyle Pitts was a good tight end last year.
He was unranked last year, and then the lowest vote he got this year was unranked too.
Because Kyle Pitts has been one of those guys that's been referenced in trade conversations for years.
Right.
I'm looking at his receiving stats. In 2021, he had a fantastic rookie season. He had 1,000 yards as a rookie. But after that, he, kind of fell off a cliff. And then last year in a contract year, he had a really good 2025. He had 88 catches for 928. But I don't think that he's better overall than Travis Kelce. And the guy that's listed 9, Mark Andrews, is not better than Travis Kelce in 2026. I remember the conversation about the big 3 of Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and Mark Andrews. That was in 2021. This is not a good list if Mark Andrews is listed above Travis Kelce. And I think Mark Andrews was a very good player, but you want to talk about somebody that's been inconsistent and kind of banged up, if I can recall correctly. I think he's missed some games here and there. He only started 11 games last year. He played in all 17, but he started in 11. How can you say a guy that starts 11 games is better than somebody who, Travis Kelce, I don't have to pull it up to say that he started in every single game last year. There was no number 1 or anybody that he was splitting catches with in Kansas City. They had Isaiah Likely in Baltimore as well. And there was a legitimate debate on who is the better player. And in fact, if you want to make an argument for somebody that should have received votes as a top 10 tight end, I would have put Isaiah Likely in that conversation.
Yeah, 100%. Do you remember the contract he got this offseason?
I know that he is a New York Giant, but I don't know.
Right. If you scroll down to the bottom, also receiving votes, Isaiah Likely's in there, but he missed the honorable mention section.
Really?
Yeah. I guess
What's the difference between honorable mention and also receiving votes?
He's a guy like George Kittle who you never know. Is he available this week?
He signed a 3 for $40 deal.
Damn.
That's
a ton.
A lot.
I guess a lot of NFL GMs and execs think he's overrated. I think I would agree with that, but yeah, the most egregious, the worst part about this list is Kittle that high.
Kittle that high is worse than Kelce being 10.
He doesn't. I don't think he has it anymore. He's torn the knee. He's coming off an Achilles. I'd be interested to see what his value is going to be this year.
I would too. Maybe next year we're talking about somebody who is going to be 7 or 8 instead of 3. I don't know how anybody in their right mind could say that George Kittle is definitively better than Travis Kelce.
He's going to be 33.
Exactly.
He's going to fall off a cliff just like Kelce did. And he's coming off of far worse injuries. I mean, Kelce's remained healthy. I mean, almost his entire career, except for the first year that he missed when he was drafted. I don't understand that, man.
Which also, if you want to look at Travis Kelce's stats, he might not have had the stats that George Kittle did, even in 2024. Like George Kittle in 2024 had 1,100 yards receiving. That is incredible. But Travis Kelce had done that before, and just looking at how steady he is, he's always playing, again, outside of his rookie season, he's pretty much good to play every single game. If not, he might miss one or two, but he played all the games in 2025. He missed one game in 2024, which I believe that was due to... Actually, no, that was because the Chiefs were so dominant in 2024, they didn't play him in the final week of the season against Denver. He missed one game in 2023 where he had like a knee injury in practice, and so the Chiefs, as a precaution, kept him out against the Lions week 1. That was the last game that I can remember Travis Kelce missing due to injury.
Yeah.
But just looking at his yardage totals, the past couple years, he hasn't cracked 1,000 yards. In 2023, he was 16 yards short. He had 823 in 2024, 851 last year. But again, the Chiefs offense has been down. And maybe if they get back to a point where the wide receivers are improved with the coaching of Chad O'Shea and the running back actually is able to gash defenses on the ground, then maybe Travis Kelce goes out and surprises and puts up 900 to 1,000 yards. I don't know if that's crazy to say at 36, but there's that possibility.
Yeah, it's clear that some execs, some GMs are predicting that Father Time's about to hit. I mean, we've been doing the same thing with Salvador Perez for years now. It's finally hit this
I think Father Time has hit Salvador Perez.
I think that's what the voters on this list are doing, because, I mean, the highest vote he got was number 3, third best tight end in the league. Lowest was unranked. Last year he was number 5. I mean, that one was worse.
Yeah.
He was coming off kind of a pretty bad year where he kind of looked out of shape. But I mean, yeah, he's not like a burner, like Loveland. That dude's an athlete. Brock Bowers can do it all. He's a physical monster. But I mean, just reading the blurb here in this article, 429 yards after the catch, ranked 3rd among this year's tight end candidate pool. So I mean, and then an NFC personnel evaluator said he's still an ageless wonder at the position. I don't understand the number 10 ranking here. I think he's top 5 minimum. You'd rather have Kelce over Andrews? Rather have him over Kyle Pitts?
I would.
Okay. Colston, Loveland?
I would as well. I think
I may be flipping on that. Colston, Loveland. I mean, his last four games of last year, he had 400 yards.
Yeah, but the Bears' offense was also legit.
That's true.
Like, I think the Chiefs' offense bouncing back would do a lot for his numbers. And actually, looking at Travis Kelce's stats, we always reference 2022 and how dominant the Chiefs' offense was, despite not really having a true number 1 wide receiver. It was Juju Smith-Schuster before the knee injury. Travis Kelce in 2022 had 110 receptions for 1,338 yards. You want to talk about not having a number 1 wide receiver? That guy was Travis Kelce. That was your number 1 wide receiver. And so, Kyle, I want to ask you this, because we've talked a lot about the Chiefs' offense in 2026 and previewing what we could see. Is there a world where the reason why the Chiefs' offense was so good in 2022 is because of Travis Kelce? Do you think that it would take an 1,100-yard season from Travis Kelce or an 1,000-yard season for them to be as good as they were?
If Travis Kelce has an 1,100-yard season this year, I don't think the Chiefs are going to be very good.
Fair point.
Because I think for the Chiefs, let's say the Chiefs finished 13-4 this year, or 12-5, something like that. I think Travis Kelce's yardage total sits probably a little bit less than it was last year. I mean, this is why he brought in Kenneth Walker, to really handle a pretty big offensive workload, right? If Kelce has 1,100 yards, that means Rashee Rice went down. That means Worthy probably went down too. That means Kenneth Walker missed games like he's been known to do in the past, or is just ineffective, or maybe Andy Reid hasn't really evolved as a play caller and he's still just hoping 15 and 87 can carry them to victory, man, that's a problem. I mean, if he does it at age 36, I mean, flat out, he's the greatest ever.
He'll also be 37 when the season starts, too. So that
point.
would be, again, longevity.
It's not going to happen.
No. But I'm looking at his receptions over the past couple of years. In 2022, when he did have 1,300 yards, he had 110. In 2023, he was just shy of 1,000. He had 93. In 2024, which we would probably all consider one of the worst seasons of his career, he had 97 catches, and he had fewer yards than he did. He had 100 less yards despite having more catches in 2024. And then in 2025, his catches dropped dramatically. He had 76. Do you see a scenario where he reaches that 75, or is he going to be a 50 reception guy? Because who's going to eat those receptions? I think that's the question.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I think he ends up about in that 70 to 80 range where he was last year. Honestly, it would be better if it was less, because that means Andy Reid has changed a little bit. Different guys, different younger, more talented athletes are healthy and getting more opportunities and are effective. I don't see Kelsey reaching that 80-plus thing. So, like, if you were to set it at 80.5, I'd take the under for Kelsey catches.
I would also take the under. If he has 70 to 75 catches, or you know what, let's say for the sake of this question, he's got 60 catches. Does that benefit Noah Gray or some wide receiver like Tyquan Thornton or Xavier Worthy more?
I would say it probably benefits Rashee Rice the most, because that's Rashee Rice's route tree, is that short to intermediate, those slants, those bubble screens. I mean, that's basically all the guy runs, and that's what Kelsey's special at too. I think it would benefit the wide receivers a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's fair to say because Noah Gray has not had the impact over the past couple of years that...
No, I mean, like 2 years ago, Noah Gray was just like, the role was basically perfect. Last year, he was forced to be more than he really is as a player. He's a fine depth piece, a fine backup option. He's not really an outstanding blocker. You know, he's not a big Blake Bell type at tight end. He's okay, you know, but I think if the Chiefs' plan this year is to limit Kelsey's play, his snap count, and his overall production in favor of more Noah Gray time,
what are we doing?
It's not going to be a fun watch.
No. Now, if they had drafted Kenyon Sadiq at 9 or got him, you know, maybe they trade back and draft him at like 15, then there would be a very fair argument that, hey, Travis, take a back seat because this is your replacement. There is no Travis Kelce replacement at this point in time. And so I'd be pretty frustrated if in 2026 they lean into Noah Gray being a bigger option, because
that's just going to tell me that they've learned nothing.
That they've learned nothing, or that one of them's washed. Like somebody, right. If that's the case, Travis Kelce's washed, because there is no world whatsoever where that guy should be beating out Travis Kelce for receptions. I don't think that's going to happen. But
and if he does, then yeah, we'll consider it wash, and we'll basically it'll come down to Kelce wanted to try to go out on top, and he wasn't able to.
But again, to your point, they can't be in a position where Travis Kelce is forced to lead the offense
87
again.
87 cannot be the number one option. I mean, and this falls on Mahomes' shoulders too. You got to start looking elsewhere sometimes, other than 87.
But how much does that injury maybe affect his decision-making? Just with, hey, the pressure's getting to be quick, Kelce's open, I'm going to dump it off.
Yeah, 100%. It matters a ton. And, I mean, the chemistry with this current group of receivers outside of Tyquan Thornton hasn't looked all that great.
No. And that's why in a year where he's got to come back and mentally deal with the ACL injury and also physically, you might see a little bit of comfort, at least early on, in Travis Kelce maybe having a really good start to the season. Now, that might cool off, but somebody's going to have to step up and maybe be that safety blanket. Maybe he feels like it's Rashee Rice if he's out there. But historically, it's been Travis Kelce, even when Rashee Rice is out there. And I don't know if that's going to change all that much this year. It hasn't in the past. But the other two rankings, and then we'll go ahead and take a break. Creed Humphrey ranked as the number 3 interior offensive lineman, which he also ranked as the number 1 center in football, which I completely agree with. Creed Humphrey is the best center.
When you said number 3, I said, who are the 2 better centers than Creed Humphrey?
Yes. Well, they ranked all of the interior offensive linemen
Joe
in.
Joe Thuney on that list?
Joe Thuney is on that list. And do you know who he ranks higher than?
Trey Smith.
Trey Smith.
Yeah.
Trey Smith ranked 7th. What do you think about that? Because I actually think that might be generous for Trey Smith.
You know what? I think it's just the injury issues that he went through last year. I mean, he missed 4 or 5 games last year. And, I mean, the Chiefs' offensive line as a whole probably takes a ding just, because it was a rotating carnival out there. I mean, you had different tackles like every week the last month and a half.
Chu Godric, Wande Morris, Asa Pole.
Exactly. I think it's an appropriate ranking for now for Smith. I think he can absolutely climb it, though. I'm curious, what was the highest ranking and lowest?
I'm going ahead and finding that really quickly because
I should just pull it up.
Trey Smith, his highest ranking was 1, and his lowest ranking was unranked. I like Trey Smith a lot. He is not the best interior offensive lineman on his own team, let alone in the NFL.
Yeah.
Now, if we were rating right guards,
that must have been Brett Veach.
Brett Veach or Andy Reid or somebody. I do not think that Trey Smith is the best interior offensive lineman in football, but last year he was ranked 4th. I think he's probably closer to 7. Now, it's interesting. He is the 2nd right guard on this list, with the first being Quinn Miners, who ranked 4th. And last year, he came in at 8. So Quinn Miners had a really good season. I think you have to see Trey Smith not only stay healthy, but improve, because the Chiefs are not paying him to be, a top 7 right guard. They're paying him to be a top 3 to 5 right guard. That's why they reset the market by giving him the contract that they did. And he's 7 this year, but the hope would be next year that he's top 5. Is it fair to say with the contract in play that he should be a top 5 interior offensive lineman?
Yeah, absolutely. He was top 5 last year.
He was 4.
I think he can absolutely climb from 7.
And again, ESPN rankings are not the end-all, be-all, and he did battle injuries, but the hope is that Trey Smith continues to blossom when he's got the cap hit that he does, because we referenced some of the contracts that Brett Veach gave out a couple off seasons ago. Nick Bolton was 7th among linebackers. That, I think, is very fair for Nick Bolton, because Nick Bolton does have some deficiencies. He's not the best coverage linebacker, but he's also good coming downhill. I think that it's a fair ranking, but the Chiefs paid Nick Bolton, they paid Trey Smith, and they paid Creed Humphrey. The return on Creed Humphrey has been fantastic. The return on Trey Smith has been very good. And Nick Bolton's been good as well, but you could always see improvement from Smith and Bolton to being a little bit better and maybe earning more of the money on that contract. But
we sound a little spoiled.
We do.
About Trey Smith should be 4 rather than 7. I mean, all 3 of those guys got contracts from Brett Veach, and all 3 are top 10 in the league.
But do we sound spoiled when the contract given to Trey Smith was the best? It reset the market for all interior offensive linemen until Linderbaum got paid by the Raiders. Like, I don't think our expectations
but that's what you have to do to keep guys now.
True.
And they decided not to reset the market with an older guy in Joe Thuney. Yeah, he's ranked 2 spots ahead, but I would say Trey Smith, in the years to come, makes more of these top 10 lists than Joe Thuney does.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
He better. I mean,
exactly.
With the contract, he better.
Yes, absolutely. He better.
There is no other option. And it was a down year. It was a down year for the whole team last year.
It was.
Trey Smith is not an exception.
The coaching staff, the equipment managers, everybody.
And we might
Everybody
find out.
May take them. You work for the Chiefs. Was it a down?
It was
down
a
year
terrible year for us.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a terrible year for us
Darcy.
on the staff.
Get back to work.
Get back to work. That is what we're going to try to do on the other side of this break. We're going to talk a little Chiefs training camp matchups, position groups to watch. Stay tuned. You guys are listening to The Night Shift on Sports Radio 810 WHP. Sports Radio 810 WHB. Michael Darcy, Kyle Collier, talking a little bit of Chiefs football. We are 2 weeks away till the Chiefs are playing or reporting to training camp in St. Joe. So we're so close to actual football taking place. And in St. Joe, this is going to be, I think, one of the better training camps that we've seen in a couple years because there are so many questions at different positions. And who is going to win the battle at, whether it's cornerback, or who's going to win the battle at, right tackle? That's increasingly becoming a question. Hopefully it's going to be Jalen Moore with the contract that they're giving out. But Kyle, I want to ask you, because I was digging around on Spot Track, and I think something that will be worth watching a lot is the secondary and the defensive backs in training camp. And according to Spot Track, Kader Kohou and Kyer Elam have the exact same contract of 1 year, $1.8 million. And I understand they both play different positions. Kader Kohou is more of that slot corner, and Kyer Elam, when he's been playing, is more a boundary corner. But if they both have the same contract, given how we think the depth chart is going to shake out, who do you think's the safer bet to make the roster?
I think it's Kohou, because Kyer Elam is in Buffalo. I mean, the playing time was sporadic. He was healthy scratches at time, and he's a former first-round pick. And he's on the team because Brett Veach loves taking flyers on guys like that. But Kader Kohou is a guy who has, I think, more of an established resume so far.
When he's out there, he did miss a lot of time.
He did miss all of last year, that's for sure. But Elam is just a guy who's shown nothing so far. And in the slot, I mean, that's where the Chiefs are going to need, I think, the most help. Because you'd like to think that your boundary guys, your outside guys, your 1 and your 2 are Noel Williams and Mansour Delane. Those are taken care of. So I think, and let's not forget L'Jarius Sneed is back. I think, his role is going to be interesting too this year. Just a sidebar. He could, when he was drafted at a Louisiana Tech, he was
a safety.
Yes, exactly. So he could be kind of a safety slot corner hybrid this year, given his age and the knee injury that's really hampered him these last couple of years. Yeah, I think Elam is the more expendable. I mean, they're both expendable. And Shamari Connor factors in here as well too. If he, and
what his role is.
Yeah, exactly. If the Chiefs want to continue using him at corner, I think that makes that's where Kohou would play as well. If they want to move Connor back to, I think his better position at safety, just kind of being a near the line of scrimmage type of guy, then Kohou can kind of handle that slot. It's a good question. I'm going to say Elam is the more expendable one, though.
I think Elam would be the more expendable as well, just because the position and also the sample size of what we've seen.
Yeah.
Like, at least Kohou is somebody that when he was playing, logged some very good snaps, and somebody that played the slot very well when Elam was not good regardless of where you put him. And I do think L'Jarius Sneed factors into this equation, because could he maybe play a little bit of slot corner, because he has dealt with a pretty serious knee injury that
this is not 2023 L'Jarius Sneed.
No. And the Chiefs have to keep that in mind in his usage. And does playing in the slot maybe lead to him staying a little bit healthier and playing in more games? I'm not sure, but they've got Noel Williams and they've got Mansour Delane. If Mansour Delane is strictly a slot corner, which I do not think that he is,
the number 6 overall
that
pick,
sucks. That's not a good pick.
If that's his role, then Brett Veach, you got to go.
But the hope is that they've got their starting 2 in Mansour Delane and Noel Williams. L'Jarius Sneed is presumably going to be either that 3rd or 4th corner. They still have Christian Fulton in the mix.
Yeah.
So your 4 boundary corners could be Noel Williams, Mansour Delane, Christian Fulton, and L'Jarius Sneed, leaving Kader Kohou for the slot. They've got Jaden Kennedy, who they drafted in the 4th round.
Forget about him. I'm high on him.
I am too. I think depending on how quickly he picks things up, I wouldn't be surprised if he maybe wins snaps at slot. We were hearing that he's pretty much going to be an A1 special teamer right away. I think given the track record of Dave Merritt and Steve Spagnuolo taking smart defensive backs and turning them into serviceable players right away. I don't think Jaden Cannady's going to be an exception to that rule.
Yeah. And you're talking about Kehu, the A1 special teamer, right?
No, I'm talking about Cannady.
Oh, Cannady. Okay.
Cannady is played a lot of special teams and has that expectation. They might put Kohu on special teams.
That makes me think Shamari Connor's role is not going to change too much, and that disappoints me a little because I think he gets overexposed when he plays corner. Opposing offenses clearly pick on him when he's on the field.
Trying to find Kader Kohu's snap counts. In just looking at it, he played... Actually, Kader Kohu, looking at his special teams usage, he's played over 75% on special teams every single year of his career. He played 88% in 2022, 85% in 2023, 76% in 2024, and that's overall special teams. Wait a minute. No, actually, I was reading the defensive snaps. Wow, so special teams, he's only played 9% one time. The other, 0%, 0%. So that pretty much tells you Kader Kohu is not playing on special teams.
Yeah. All right, this makes me even more confident that I think Elam is the more expendable guy.
Let's go ahead and look at Elam's special teams usage because I could see a world.
He was getting a healthy scratch last year. These results probably not going to show a ton.
Actually, if you want to look at his special team snaps, in 2024, he played in 19% of the special team snaps, 11% in 2023, 8% in 2022. So he actually played more special team snaps as his career went along because he wasn't very good defensively.
Yeah.
Get this, in 2024, he played in 35% of the defensive snaps, 19% of the special team snaps. 2024 was when Buffalo was like, okay, it's over.
Man.
It's a wrap.
And we all remember that video of Buffalo's draft room.
We do. Thank you so much for taking Kyer Elam instead of just, I guess they couldn't have taken, they couldn't have taken Trent McDuffie, but goodness gracious, that would have been a disaster for the Kansas City Chiefs. But maybe in an alternate universe, Kyer Elam's good.
If we were both to do our 53-man right now, I think Kyer Elam's off the list.
And Sterling's super high on him. I just don't know where he fits, especially because, not saying it's impossible, but L'Jarius Sneed knows the defense.
Yeah.
L'Jarius Sneed has connections in that building. And Kyer Elam...
And L'Jarius Sneed's a great guy to have in the building, too, with Noah Williams and a rookie in Mansour Delane.
Yeah. And
it's a huge vet piece.
I understand that when L'Jarius Sneed was on the field in Tennessee, he wasn't very good. Now, he wasn't on the field all that much, but that knee injury clearly was an issue and nagging him. But Kyer Elam, for the most part, has been healthy and just been ass.
Yeah. I mean, the funniest outcome here is that Kyer Elam turns into a productive, trustworthy NFL cornerback, and then because of Dave Merritt and Steve Spagnuolo, it just kind of outs Buffalo as just not a very good coaching staff.
Yeah,
that would be hilarious, but I don't think it's going to happen because I'm not sure I believe in the guy.
Well, I think why I asked the question is because
I don't know why Sterling's so high on the guy. Because what have we seen from him?
I think he sees the vision.
Decrease every year.
He sees the athletic traits, and at the time he was super high on him. They didn't have L'Jarius Sneed in the building, so it made a little bit more sense. But I think Kyer Elam is a guy that probably won't make the roster. Now, it will depend on the health of Kader Kohu, but I find it very telling one way or another that they both have the same contracts. Does that mean that Kader Kohu was a steal or they overpaid for one of those guys? I don't think they're overpaying for Kyer Elam. Nobody wanted him. So did they get a steal in Kader Kohu, or is that just what he is?
If he's your number one guy in the slot, that's an absolute steal.
If he is, I mean, there clearly are legit concerns about his health and other things. And again, looking at the special teams snaps, Kader Kohu does not play on special teams.
Right.
So I think Jaden Cannady, their fourth-round draft pick, will probably be primarily a special teamer, at least right away. But I don't think Kader Kohu is... If he's making this team, he's the slot corner. He's not making this team to be a special teamer. But, yeah, I found that kind of interesting, and we'll talk more about some position groups to watch in training camp in the next hour. We're going to take a quick break, and on the other side of this break, we're going to talk a little Royals baseball. You guys are listening to The Night Shift on Sports Radio 810 WHP. Welcome back into the night shift on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Michael Darcy, Kyle Collier, going to talk a little Royals baseball. A lot has happened, and Kyle, I first want to mention that I feel so much peace. There's not a lot of anger. There's not a lot of anxiety, and that's because the Royals have not played a baseball game in a couple days.
That's called apathy.
Yeah, that is.
Which, yeah, I get it. Why you feel that sense of peace. I'm feeling the same thing too. It's just like you had. I mean, dude, on the program we did our bold and daring predictions like we do for the Chiefs and the Royals before the start of the season. I believe I had the Royals at 87 wins this year. Petro had them between 86, 88. Curtis may have been the low man on that, but everybody, we were all in the 80s. I mean, Jeff Passan came on here and told us they were going to be a top 10 offense. And we all believed it. Just fell apart.
Mick Schaefer and I had them winning 84, 85 games.
Yeah.
Even then, I still feel like a bumbling idiot. They're trending towards the 100-loss season. But, a lot has happened even in the past couple days. The home run derby, Jack Caglione performed, didn't advance to the second round, but hit an absolute moonshot to the third deck in Philly. Put on a show when his dad could locate a pitch.
Yeah.
He was dotting the corners and giving him a little bit of heat. But I thought Jack put on a pretty good showing. We'll start with the home run derby. What was your thoughts on the home run derby overall?
Overall, I mean, I was nervous about the format. I thought, everybody having 20 swings. I mean, I was an old school guy. I kind of liked the version of the timer because it just, like, let's say everybody gets 3 minutes, right? It's up to the batter. They have to find their pace. They have to be able to get through the round and find a consistent stroke on a clock. I feel like that breeds the best hitters, right? The most talented home run hitters for an event like that. But I actually kind of liked it. I was nervous about it being a little bit too slow. I did feel like it was slow to begin with. So, Netflix felt like they had to – dude, there was like 6 announcers.
Yeah, there was a lot going on.
There was way too much.
There was a lot going on,
a
lot of cuts.
It's just way too much yapping. And, oh, God, the camera cuts. Way too much, man. Like – show me the camera angle behind the pitcher, behind the L screen, and then show me the one from behind the batter where you watch the ball fly. That's all I need to see.
You don't need to see all the different cuts.
Right.
And especially, you knew when he didn't get a hold, he isn't any of the participants, you knew when they didn't get a hold of it because they just wouldn't pan to where the ball went.
Right.
Either it was a moonshot, but it was easily foul, or he just hits a line drive into right field. I want to see that. I want to see, okay, did he get a hold of that one? Like, that's part of the fun of the home run derby, seeing and you could tell by the launch angle of how the ball comes off the bat. But, sometimes these guys are hitting 110 off the bat. Their line drives out. You never know.
Right.
You want to see where the ball lands. But to your point about the timing and the different format, I actually like more than the time just having the 20 swings because I think you saw more guys taking a couple pitches. They weren't rushed. And did the home run derby last a little bit longer? It did, but I think that the product overall was better. And I do think that we saw maybe more home runs because guys were not just swinging because, oh crap, the clock is ticking down. Yeah. I just hit a bomb, and once that thing lands, I got to gear up and swing again. I do like the fact that, especially with when you're down to your last swing, you can keep swinging until you don't hit a home run. Love that rule because Jordan Walker ended up winning the home run derby because of that rule.
Exactly, and I think there's also a drawback on the broadcast when you have a timer because the players feel like they got to go real fast. So they launch one, you're watching it, and then before it even lands, the next pitch is inbound. So you can't keep up. You're like, is this batting practice? Like I felt like the 20 swings let the event breathe a little bit more. You could appreciate the home run that was just hit, and then you can see the next attempt.
But it's almost a double-edged sword because you can appreciate the moment more, but that also leaves more silence and more room for talking.
Yes.
And they found a way to fill that.
Advantage of that. Good God, there's way too much, man.
Like, there was a lot going on.
Like at many times, I didn't know who was talking. I mean, in the middle of it might have been Junior Caminero or somebody. It was one of the players. They had Bonds, Pujols, and El Duncan,
sitting at like a couch with a coffee table,
and they had they had her and those two guys kind of commentating a little bit, and then all of a sudden, Matt Vasgersian and the main crew took over in the middle of a home run going out. Like, what the hell's the plan here?
There is no plan.
They need to fix it. They need to simplify the broadcast a little bit more. I mean, in between hitters, yeah, let's show off some cool camera replays, some slow-mo shots. But let's not be doing that during the round. I need 2 camera angles during the round, watching the ball fly and watching the pitch come in.
I will say, for all the criticism about the broadcast, I think Netflix did a better job than ESPN would have done. I mean, I'm very low on ESPN and their ability to broadcast any live sporting event. I think the Home Run Derby would be an exception to that rule. But I think the new format was great. It allowed for some tense moments. And also, I like the idea of a hitter being able to lay off a bad pitch instead of just not swinging as hard as they can.
And feeling like you have to swing.
Yeah. It's like, or I'm going to try to swing at a pitch that I've got no chance to take out of here just because I got to get these numbers up.
Yeah.
And so you probably see better home runs, longer home runs, because they can take a pitch they like and drive it.
Yeah, and take a breath, right?
Exactly.
They're not completely out of gas. And like the old format, they had a timeout.
Yeah, you had to call a timeout.
Yeah, it's like, all right.
Take a drink of
all
water.
right, what are we doing here? You know, it just the pace felt it felt better, even though I think the event was a little bit longer. And just, you know, on Caglione specifically, you know, his first 10 swings, it felt like he was using the clock format because he looked like he was rushing everything. I mean, he was pulling everything kind of low liners. He was definitely nervous, I think.
Oh, yeah.
The first 10 swings. Then he hit a roll. I mean, yeah, you mentioned the triple decker that he pulls down the right field line. The most impressive one I thought was the one that just cleared the batter's eye in dead center.
Yeah.
That one, that's ridiculous. And I don't know. I feel like Caglione should do it again.
I would hope that he would.
I think he'll come back and do that event. I think he'll be ready to go this time. And hopefully he picks, you know, an actual pitcher.
Okay, that is and we'll take a break after this.
I'm sure Jeff Caglione raised his son throwing him pitches all the time.
I'm sure
right?
he did.
But let's get the Royals BP guy to do that.
I understand.
And Bobby Witt a couple years ago using his brother-in-law.
His brother-in-law.
Still made it to the finals, even though there were pitches coming in at Bobby's head.
In the time format, by the way.
Yeah.
This isn't like you could just pick the pitch that he wants to drive. No, it's a time format. I understand in a moment like that where guys are having fun, bringing your dad out and having him pitch batting practice to you. But I'm also incredibly competitive, and I would probably be Pete Alonso-like, as in I would take it maybe too seriously. I would not use my dad. Now, I don't think my dad could also pitch batting practice effectively, but would you pick your dad, or are you like, okay, I'm going to go to the guy that gets paid to do this for a living. Give me 60 miles an hour in the right place every single time.
I would pick my dad, but I just know after like 5 throws, he's going to go, and start loosening up the shoulder. If I was on the clock format, absolutely not picking my father.
Okay. But Mr. Collier could do it.
He could be serviceable.
Serviceable. Okay. That's fair. I would just pick somebody that can do it consistently, because when think the last time that Jack Caglione's dad threw batting practice? I mean, I guess it would have been the Sunday before the Home Run Derby, because in Baltimore they did it.
I hope they got some reps in, yeah.
But what is 15 or 20 practice pitches do when you haven't done it?
Right, and then,
presumably in a while.
I mean, yeah, you can practice all you want, but then you and your dad got to show up there in the middle of Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia with however many thousand fans screaming at the top of their lungs. That's an atmosphere that's different, right? That's a different stage, and it felt like I don't know if his dad was nervous, but it felt like Jack was definitely nervous for a little bit.
I think they both. I mean, how could you not be nervous?
Yeah, for sure.
But, kind of going back to it, it would be kind of a cool feeling to know, yeah, I just hit a 500-foot moonshot off my dad. Like, that would be kind of cool. But if you're trying to win the Derby, I mean, Wilson Contreras, you saw, even Jordan Walker, like, they were using a guy that, was putting it in the right spot every single time. And I think overall, we saw, a lot of really good, entertaining home runs, but I would like to see Jack Caglione participate in this event next year if he's asked back. I think he probably will be because of the show that he did put on. Even though he didn't advance, He hit some home runs that were memorable. But, Kyle, we didn't get to all the Royals stuff I wanted to talk to in this segment. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk about the Royals draft class. You guys are listening to The Night Shift on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Welcome back into the Night Shift on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Michael Darcy, Cal Collier. In the next segment, we'll play a little hypothetically speaking, but we didn't get to all the Royals conversation that I wanted to in the last segment. And the other thing that has happened in this short little break from Royals baseball is the Royals had the Major League Baseball draft, and 6th overall, they selected Zion Rose, a college bat out of Louisville, somebody who was a catcher, then played outfield, projects to be maybe the future center fielder for the Royals. And Kyle, I want to get your thoughts on this because I liked the college bat approach, especially because they haven't had a lot of luck with high school bats. And so I would like to see somebody that also could maybe make the show a little bit earlier than the time that you would need to spend to develop a high school hitter, because I mean, they'd like to compete at some point in the next couple of years. But what were your thoughts on Zion Rose at 6 overall?
Yeah, so it was interesting. Kind of a polarizing pick. I think when the pick was made, you know, Royals fans on Twitter, they overreact. So if they see Zion Rose on, you know, MLB.com's big board at prospect number 30, Keith Law of The Athletic, who the program we trust a lot. We had him on yesterday, actually. He had Rose at 22 on his board. But, I mean, overall, Keith Law loved the draft class. they go with Ole Miss righty Taylor Rabe at 30. Another pick I really liked. But Zion Rose, I mean, I think he would have been a top 15 guy on most people's boards had he not started the year with an injury. I mean, he missed about a month of game action. He gets inserted into the lineup during conference play, and he's playing far better competition, and he absolutely raked. So I'm excited about it. I would hold your dreams about a future center fielder. I mean, he's a former catcher. I don't think he's going to last in center field. He's a good athlete, good runner, but I think the corner is where he's destined.
More of a left fielder?
I think the Royals absolutely eyed him as their left fielder.
Well, the Royals did not draft him because of his defense. They drafted him because of his bat and hoping that the glove would come along later. And I really like that approach because you're hearing a lot of Royals fans upset that they didn't draft Eric Booth, and who ended up going a pick later to the Baltimore Orioles, who was a high school bat.
Yeah, and he's the guy you saw mocked to the Royals.
Yes,
a
lot. Now, maybe he wouldn't have come in under slot like Zion Rose did.
Right.
But I do think the traits that Zion Rose possesses are a little bit more outside of the norm, outside of what the Royals have historically done. We've seen a lot of guys that can put the ball in play and run fast. I like to see somebody with a little pop in their bat, somebody that can actually make a difference at the plate instead of just get on and steal a bunch of bases. Not saying that there's not usage for those players, but we've seen that model before. We've seen that approach in the draft, and it hasn't really worked out for the Royals in the last 5 to 7 years. So I would like to see them go after a college bat with a little bit of pop and draft bat first, because if you got a stud left fielder who is able to put the ball over the fence and has like a 250, 260 average, who cares if he's good defensively?
Yeah, so Keith Law giving out report cards for all the teams. Rose rolled his ankle the first weekend of the season, missing 20-odd games. So nearly all of his at-bats this year came in conference play in the ACC. And then he finished with a slash line of 417, 491, 646. 24 steals and 27 attempts. I really think if he was healthy all season, many teams would have considered him in the top 10, 15 for sure. The Royals obviously did, and I mean, J.J. Piccolo and Brian Bridges, I mean, they need to, just take a step back, look at this team from a bird's eye view. They need to draft with a sense of urgency. And had they gone Eric Booth, toolsy high schooler, he's likely going to take a lot longer to get to the big leagues. Look at where your team is right now. You need talent to rise up quickly.
Do you think that this move maybe tells the fan base, tells the media that they want to compete in 27 and 28, or at least before that Bobby Witt Jr. opt-out? Because they could have drafted a high school bat. They could have drafted a high school arm.
Yeah.
And they did draft the high school arm.
Did that. I mean, the last 2 times they did that, Frank Mazzucato and Blake Mitchell.
I'm well aware.
It has not exactly worked out.
No, it is not.
Mazzucato is likely not going to be anything. Blake Mitchell, I still have a little bit of hope for because the power is ridiculous, but
he's in high A.
But yeah, he's in high A still. I know he suffered a hamate bone injury last year, kind of robbed him of his power for about 6 to 8 months. Which is, something the Royals will have to watch out with Vinny Pasquantino this year. But I'm getting myself sidetracked. Keith Law came on and said he's not optimistic about Blake Mitchell at all.
I'm very much so in the Keith Law camp.
So I love this. I love the draft, for the sense of urgency. It tells me that the Royals think these guys are going to fly through the system and be up to join Bobby Witt Jr. and Jack Caglione within 2 years. That'd be great.
If you're drafting a college bat, he better be up in 2 years.
2 to 3, yeah.
I mean, 3. I mean, he's already, and now he's.
And if it takes longer than that, then the Royals maybe try to get too smart for their own good.
Because it's also, okay, if it's 2 to 3 years to the majors, then you got to take his rookie season into account, and it's probably not going to be that much of a contributor right away. There's a timeline, and I think the timeline is starting to get farther and farther away from competing.
Yeah.
And given the fact that they had an opportunity to trade Cole Reagans and trade Chris Bubich, whether it was this offseason or last year, they didn't do it.
Yeah.
They were too high on their own guys, And I hope this is a situation where they don't see Blake Mitchell in high A and say, well, he's untouchable. We can't trade him. He's going to be the future at catcher when Salvador Perez hangs it up, or we don't know if Carter. You've got a logjam of catchers. You've got a weak farm system. You've got a club that, let's face it, is 4 or 5 bats away in the lineup. They need to revamp the bullpen. They need probably 1 or 2 starters. This team is not close to competing. And every year that Bobby Witt Jr. is out there is a year where you're wasting a top 3 player in baseball. And he's starting to become Mike Trout. We've talked about this, and seeing him in Philly last night, and Mike Trout was on the field as well, I was like, oh man, this is feeling really similar to what the Angels went through with Mike Trout and what their franchise essentially They had Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout on the same team.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a dumpster fire of an organization. I think the Royals are a better organization than the Los Angeles Angels. But I see what you're getting at. Absolutely. Because, I mean, eventually, Bobby Witt Jr. is going to have to think about it. When he gets into his 30s, he's going to have to cut down on the stolen bases. He's likely going to have to turn into more of a power-type hitter, more of a run-producing type hitter. Because right now, he's just kind of this year, he's been more of a set-the-table guy. I mean,
setting the table and no one's coming to eat.
Exactly. Yeah, right. I mean, I think the Royals, just kind of the failure that the lineup has been this year, has really been a detriment to Bobby Witt's overall statistics. Just especially
yes,
the production.
1,000%.
I think he can get back to that year, where he was a batting title type hitter. I mean, for God's sake, his average was 330 for an entire year. I'm not saying he'll ever get back to that, but the injuries will catch up, and eventually he will not be able to play the elite shortstop that he's playing right now. And that's what this draft class is heavy. It was heavy on college, and I think that's a good thing because you want to get as much talent as you can up to the big leagues to play with your stars.
And especially like Taylor Rabe, the guy they took also in the first round at pick 30.
Yeah.
That's a right-hander out of Mississippi. Like that, they didn't go with the high school arm, and thank God, because I know that some teams take prep high school pitchers and it works out, and the Royals have taken shots at high school pitchers, and some have worked, a lot have not. And I just don't think in 2026, when NIL is more of a decision maker, like NIL genuinely keeps kids in school, and that's starting to become a facet on the baseball side of things. Like we talk about how, well, he's going to go play football at Alabama or basketball at Duke, so he's going to stay in college to make more money. You're starting to see that on the baseball side of things. If you're a top high school recruit, you're going to go to college and make that kind of money instead of just going to slum it out in the minor leagues. So if you want to sign a high school pitcher or a high school bat, you're going to have to pay more in signing bonus, and you're going to have to really take more guys over slot. And the way that most professional sports work is they use colleges as the breeding ground for talent.
Sort of their minor league, yeah.
Baseball has never done that. But you're starting to see more of these colleges becoming more advanced than what a single A, like an A-ball team. Like the resources are better at LSU than they are at fill in the blank high A team.
Yeah.
And so I like that some of these major SEC colleges, and really just colleges across, if you're Power 4, they're really developing talent, and at least they might not be ready to play tomorrow, but they're closer to making their debut than they were, or they would have been if they would have just gone to the minors first.
Yeah, they're absolutely, they're better prepared to rocket through the system, and that's what the Royals need, because all their talent, I mean, Kylie McDaniel, who you guys on the Zone are familiar with, he released an updated top 10 prospects for every team. Josh Hammond, single A, rookie ball. He may be a low A by now. Kendrick Churio, high A. David Shields, low A. Gomez, definitely not in double A. I know that. Blake Mitchell, high A. Ramon Ramirez, high A. Zion Rose, drafted this year. Taylor Rabe, drafted this year. Justin Lampkin has actually been the fastest riser. He was a 2025 draft pick. He's in double A, but now hurt. And then Jack Slidham, a second-round high school arm that they took this year. All those guys are they're far away.
They're far away.
Tells you got nothing in AA, you got nothing in AAA. So, I mean, the Royals, you started off this segment talking about how the Royals did not trade Reagans, did not trade Chris Bubich, and Seth Lugo. They need to learn because they cannot sit back this offseason, put their feet up on the desk and say, man, all right, we got reinforcements coming in from Northwest Arkansas and Omaha. It's not the case at all.
And it's just not how you build a team anymore. And that's, I think, my biggest concern. And
you have to be able you got to take a risk. You got to make a trade that hurts. You got to go into the free agent market and dish out a contract that might hurt for a little bit.
I want to ask you this.
The Royals just haven't shown that yet.
They have not shown that, and that kind of lends into my question.
I know they tried for. I'm sorry, Darcy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cutting you off. I know they tried for Anthony Santander a couple.
Thank God they didn't get him.
Exactly. They tried to give him $66 million over 3 years or something like that. That would have been a disaster of a contract. So they tried a little bit, and where they spent their money was Lugo, Waka, and Carlos Estevez, who were solid, but those guys are aging and declining. Minus Waka's obviously not showing the decline, but he will.
Well, that goes to the conversation about trading Michael Waka. I understand that the Royals need guys to fill out the staff next year, even though that is the job of J.J. Piccolo in the front office to go find the replacement to Michael Waka and Seth Lugo. But I could even be talked into keeping Michael Waka because I could see value there. But I think it also needs to be stated the value for Michael Waka will never be higher.
Yeah.
It'll never be higher. So if you're okay with saying, we don't think that we want to part with him because there's not enough value, that's one thing. You don't trade him to trade him, but if you're getting competitive offers and you hold on to him like what they did with Whit Merrifield a couple years ago, that would be that's unforgivable. You can't do that.
The Royals have to learn from this. Salvador Perez is the prime example. A fan favorite, an organization favorite, the face of the franchise, right before Bobby Witt became Bobby Witt. Salvador Perez was producing, and now he's not. And you got nothing to show for it. Because when he was producing, were the Royals a good team? No. They were 1 year, 2024.
And it's funny because my stance on Bobby Witt Jr.'s even changed from a couple months ago where I was saying...
From untouchable to no longer?
Well, listen, he's untouchable for right now.
Okay.
You cannot trade him right now. But I went from the mindset of when he opts out, you throw everything at him. You do whatever you can to keep him a Royal forever. Make him the next George Brett because he's got Hall of Fame potential. But if you got the opportunity to trade him for what the Nationals got for Juan Soto, you have to do that. Because at the end of the day, as much as I love Bobby Witt Jr., it's not going to matter if they're losing 90 games every year.
Right.
Like, he's awesome to watch. He's so much fun. Is it really that much fun if they're losing 90 games? It's awesome to see him hit the baseball, round the bases. But if that's not equating to wins, Kauffman Stadium, whether it's downtown or wherever it is, it's going to be empty.
Yeah, everybody loved watching Zach Greinke pitch. You had to make that move, right? Those are the tough decisions that this
and look
Royals regime,
look what that trade yielded.
Lorenzo Cain, Alcides Escobar, couple more pieces.
2 playoff MVPs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Were they both ALCS MVPs? 1 in 14, 1 in 15?
Yeah, exactly right.
You sometimes have to make incredibly difficult trades that truthfully won't make sense at the time.
And then, post 2013, they traded Will Myers, who everyone thought was going to be the savior.
You know who they got for him?
Big game James Shields, who was, a major piece in turning
Huge
this organization around. And then Wade Davis, who, for my money, is one of the best postseason closers of all time.
Ever.
Yeah, he had a 3-year peak of absolute dominance.
He also, got the final out in the World Series in 2015. So,
Yes.
the Royals, when they made that risky move, it did pay dividends in those 2 instances. Now, they have made moves that have not worked out, and that's fair, but
Right.
I just think that this team has to be more transactional. J.J. Piccolo said that they were going to try to be more transactional. I have not seen it. I'd like to see it because if it means parting with Blake Mitchell in a bundle to get a solidified outfielder, that's a risk you've got to take. You've seen what he is. And part of the reason why we look at the Guardians, we look at the Rays, we look at a team like, I'm trying to think of a team in that category. Milwaukee. All three of those franchises know their talent, know their staff, know their, I guess, shortcomings where they need to spend money and where they don't need to spend money.
They know when to move on.
Exactly.
I mean, Milwaukee just these last couple of years. Freddie Peralta, ace, traded to the New York Mets. Josh Hader, shutdown closer, he was traded. And then they traded Isaac Collins away to the Royals because they clearly thought, he was a 27-year-old rookie last year and only 113, maybe it was like 120 games. He put up solid numbers, but, the Royals were desperate for outfield help, so the Brewers moved him. Now, they only got back Angel Zerpa, who blew out his elbow. But they also traded Caleb Durbin, their third baseman, to Boston. And he sucked to begin the year, just like Isaac Collins did. The Brewers do it right. The Royals...
They're 59-37 in first place in the division, by the way.
And they won 90-something games last year. With, guys who aren't household names. I mean, Jackson Churrio's stud, Christian Yelich, kind of in a decline, certainly, but he's a former MVP stud. They don't really keep guys. Now, you can keep a guy. Like, you can keep Bobby Witt Jr., but this year...
And also, really quickly,
I do not want to hear the argument.
Not advocating for trading him. Just want to put that out there. Not saying
it. Absolutely. But this year, like you said, you might have to package Michael Wacha with a Kendrick Churrio. And I hope to God you don't, because that guy looks nasty. He's 19 years old, topping out at 100, and he's a starter. Keith Law says he has the best command of this year's Futures game roster. I hope you don't have to trade him, but you might have to package your number 3 overall, David Shields, to send somebody back to get. The Royals need everything. So,
take your pick.
I don't want to hear we need to keep Wacha. I don't think they're going to trade Lugo, but we need to keep these guys so we can compete next year. You're not going to compete next year. You don't have enough.
Like, what would they need?
Pasquantino, that's a guy who might have to be moved. Because if Jack Cagliano's your future,
if you get anything for him,
you want him at first base.
What would they need to do to compete next year, realistically? They obviously can't run the roster back.
Spend like the Mets?
Look what the Mets are doing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's kind of like the Chiefs this year. Like, I'm not going to pick the Chiefs as my Super Bowl champion like I have for the 5 years in a row in the past, right? You might experience a couple down years. And the Royals, being the small market team that they are, J.J. Picollo may have to walk into John Sherman's office and be like, hey, we're going to have to take take a step backward to take, 2 or 3 steps forward for the long haul.
And the biggest argument, I think, that is not being mentioned enough when talking about Seth Lugo, who they gave him a contract extension and he never ended up being the same player post-extension. And that was them overvaluating what they had. But Seth Lugo is getting up there in age. Like, he is, 36 years old?
I think he's 37 now. Or he's going to be 37. I'm
trying to find but he is 36.
Yes.
He's 36. Michael Wacha is in his mid-30s. These guys are in their mid to late 30s. One of them has value. One of them was an all-star. And the Royals are looking out their window and seeing a labor strike in the near future. There is pretty much a lockout incoming. This is going to happen. There's not going to be baseball likely to start 2027. So are you going to hold on to Michael Wacha, a guy in his mid-30s, to play at some point in 2027 if they lose, a month of the season, depending on how much the lockout affects the season? Do you want to hold on to your older guys when who knows what they look like next year? It would be smart for them to say, you know what, we see what's coming. We see it. We don't want to lose a half a season of either Lugo or Wacha. Therefore, we will eat a little bit of money with Seth Lugo and trade him. We'll just trade Michael Wacha to get some younger guy back because we can run these, you wouldn't have probably the minor league system running during the lockout, but we could find ways to get those younger players that we traded for to stay in the system and figure out a way to get them to develop while there's not Major League Baseball being played. I think they have to be smart and transactional, to use J.J. Piccolo's words, because all of their actions would dictate that they've been very anti-transactional.
Yeah, no, I'm in 100% agreement. I mean, flat out, bottom line, if Michael Wacha is on the team post August 3rd, which is the deadline this year, I'm incredibly nervous about the future of this team.
I think one of those guys has to be gone.
I mean, I'm going to have questions in the leadership for sure. It doesn't make sense.
And I've avoided saying it, but we talk about how once the Royals fired Dayton Moore, there was not a lot of optimism when J.J. Piccolo was hired because he was the guy under Dayton Moore. And if J.J. Piccolo does not become more transactional and does not be a little bit more savvy and get it right in free agency, then he's going to be very similar to what Dayton Moore was, and somebody who valued the relationships over actual winning baseball. And nobody in Kansas City wants to see that. But we're going to take a quick break, and on the other side of this break, we're going to play Hypothetically Speaking. You guys are listening to The Night Shift on Sports Radio.